topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Camping Show. I'm CW Getz. It is Wednesday, January 5th, 2022. Got to get used to saying 2022. In fact, I think last week on the form that thing that I had here, it said 2022 and it should have said 2021. So if anybody caught that, I apologize. But we have a nice chilly 11-degree windy, super windy day here today near Chicago. I think it was like 45 mile per hour, wind gusts. And I think we got every bit of that, maybe a little bit more. So it is chilly here. My co-host Willow this evening is on assignment adventuring up in Minnesota, Duluth, Minnesota, I believe. So she'll be with us again here soon. But I'm with you solo here tonight. So it's just me. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Campground Views, making camping easier, by Rutabaga Paddle Sports, providing time on the water, and by Novacraft Canoe, connecting with nature since 1970. Tonight's episode is water purification for adventuring with my special guest, John Wright. Lifelong outdoor enthusiast, hiker, climber, and backcountry adventurer, John Wright is a graduate of the National Outdoor Leadership School, Vice President of Sales for Katadyn North America, and Vice President of Sales for Spectra Watermakers. John also serves as a volunteer, as a water and sanitation health disaster team lead and team chief when called upon, as well as technical advisor for World Hope International. A professional in the world of water infrastructure equipment manufacturing, he applies his extensive knowledge and background experience to create drinking water equipment solutions and portable desalination gear for disaster and humanitarian development projects globally. A veteran of numerous disasters, he has over 1,000 unit hours of operating portable desalination equipment and freshwater solutions to make drinking water for those in need as a result of disasters. And with that, welcome to the show, John.
Thanks, CW. Good to be here. It's always good to talk about water, but I have to say that was quite a mouthful.
Absolutely. Well, and it's quite an impressive list, introduction. I mean, I got to tell you, a lot of times, people come on, guests come on, and some of them are just, hey, basically, we know what we're talking about. You have all the credentials to know exactly what's going on. There's no doubt that you are an expert. So I really appreciate you being here with us this evening. So, well, and by the way, let me ask, you are in Wisconsin, as you said, right?
Correct.
And what kind of weather are you getting in Wisconsin?
Yeah, pretty much the same. About 14 degrees, 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, snow coming down. I need to shovel before I get out of here.
So you get the wind too. Yeah, the shovel thing. You said you were snowed in, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, and I would assume that Willow in Duluth is getting about pretty much the same sort of weather we are. So hopefully she's enjoying that. I know she likes the winter. I'm not a big fan, but that's just me. So, well, let me start out here by asking you, why is water filtration so important when you're adventuring? I mean, the beer commercials advertise the land of sky blue waters and pure as a mountain stream, right? So what's the deal there?
Indeed, they do say that. And in fact, I can name the manufacturer who used that tagline, dating us both as older.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the reality. The reality is, in our backcountry adventures, we really never get to know what's in the water until we have a problem.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about microbiological contaminants and very, very small, down to 0.001 microns in size. And so it literally takes a water lab for us to really know what's in the water. Now, experienced backpackers will have some intel. There will be stories about Giardia in the area. There's some intel that we get, and that's helpful.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we never know what the contaminant is, and that those contaminants can really ruin the trip. And not
Yeah.
only that, these can create life-threatening situations. Dehydration is the a very most prevalent response, issue that comes with a serious contaminant. And dehydration in a backcountry scenario is not fun.
No. Yeah.
So, yeah, we just don't know what's in the water, and in almost all cases, no matter what the water source is, there's going to be some bacteria.
Okay.
And it may not be enough bacteria, or it may be friendly bacteria, but all water has some kind of biological profile in it. And that's what
Interesting.
we're trying to address, is just we're trying to find a basic sanitation protocol for simple backpacking that isn't too time consuming, that isn't too complex,
Mm-hmm.
that just assures that we get home safe and that we have
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And you don't have a lab out in the middle of, wherever you are. So you can't test anything to know. So really, what do you do other than address the potential hazards there? And I just got to tell you, I got a call today from a canoe buddy of mine who we went to school together, but he was a little bit older than me. He was a serviceman, and on 2 occasions, he went out and drank water that smelled fine, uh, tasted fine. To my knowledge, this is what I got from our conversation. It tasted fine, smelled fine, but he got seriously sick on both occasions. And he said, never again.
Yep.
Always when in doubt. And I have to think, what, who would take a chance? Is it worth it? I mean, would it be worth it to you, John?
Well, this is our quality time. We're in the backcountry, we're decompressing, we're re-engaging ourselves, we're clearing our minds, and having a really serious medical situation come up, or what could be a serious medical situation, just diminishes that whole effort. And again, if we can find a simple protocol for sanitizing the water, then absolutely, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And to your point, yeah, I mean, it can be crystal clear, beautiful blue water, and still have a viral infection of some kind, which is so small that it would take an electron microscope to see it.
Yeah. And I've had that personal experience myself. And I'll tell you, and I wrote in the promo for tonight, it was on Instagram and Facebook. I said, or this afternoon, I said, it doesn't have to smell bad or taste bad to be bad, and or have bad things in it. And would you validate that?
That is absolutely the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be crystal clear and still have some kind of contaminant. Now, there's other types of contamination, industrial contaminants, industrial materials, pesticides,
Yeah.
nitrates, things of these nature, which are really fairly easily removed. But in most cases, you're not going to get enough of those in a backcountry scenario to be an issue. But the biologicals, on the other hand, and what we're referring to is this: the biologicals that can ruin our trip are bacteria, viruses, and protozoan cysts. Those 3 group of bad guys are what we're trying to address. And hopefully today we can talk about just the basic steps that we should go through that eliminate this as an issue on a trip or on a mission.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
if it's what if it's a travel scenario where you're traveling, and you come down with with a stomach illness, or what if it's a disaster mission, which we've talked about a little bit, that diminishes our responders from being able to make water, or makes them part of the problem if they need to be medevaced.
Mhm.
That can be a big consideration in a disaster response. So the protocol, I think, is generally seen as being kind of complex, and hopefully we can talk about it a little bit. It's really not complex. It's very simple.
Yeah. Right. I'm gonna go backwards here, and I know you've answered this, but I'm just gonna throw this question out here. Are there certain situations that require different degrees of filtration?
The answer is, and it's a good question, the answer is yes. So if it's a virus, well, we're going to need not just a standard filter, we're going to need a much smaller pore size, or we're going to need to include a treatment, chemical treatment, like a chlorine tablet in the protocol. But here again, we don't know what's in the water. So there are situations where the water contaminants require different types of filtration processes. But what we're proposing is we'll never know what that is. So we're going to propose a sanitation protocol that's very simple that will address most, but not all, of the biological contaminants.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's great. I almost said all. I was going to try to, but not everything. There's no 100% on everything, is there?
That's right.
Specifically, and this is the one I definitely know you touched upon here, but you feel free to repeat. Specifically, what type of things are present in water from streams, lakes, creeks, and even the ocean that need to be filtered out so that it's suitable for drinking?
Yeah, we go back to that big three. The biologicals are the ones that cause us problems. Now, that said, it may be dark in color and not have biologicals in it. It
Oh,
may
wow.
have suspended solids in it. It may have organic compounds in it. It may have decaying biological, matter, leaves, and it may have minerals, suspended mineral content.
Okay.
And all of those really don't make us sick.
Wow.
Um, that's right.
Well,
All of
looks can be deceiving in that way. You're thinking, "Oh, I'd never drink that," but that may not even hurt you, right?
It might not hurt you. Yeah. Let's assume that there's no pesticides and there's no, arsenic and there's no, industrial contamination or
Mhm.
materials in the water as well. But, using a filter to remove those types of contaminant makes the water look really clear. And it really gives us all a sense of comfort that
Good feeling, right? Yeah.
yeah, the water we're drinking is going to hydrate us well and that we're going to be healthy.
Yep. Let me ask you this. Again, I believe you just answered. Sorry, folks, for the repeat, but what sort of things cannot be removed by a
Yeah.
filter?
Yeah, there are some. One of the biggest questions that comes up is, can I use my filter for removal of salt? So, for example, seawater. And the answer to that question is that a microfilter goes down to about zero point zero 0.01 microns. The salt ion is 0.0001 microns.
Oh, wow.
So we're really, really going to, the salt's going to go right through a microfilter.
Yeah.
And we're going to need to find another water source, or, we're going to have a pre-planned desalination system available to us to desalinate seawater. So microfilters will also not remove viruses.
Yeah.
Viruses are too small. They'll go right through the pores in the class of filters that we refer to as microfilters.
Right. Right.
But microfilters will also process water quicker. They will remove the bacteria. They will, at the EPA recommended level, they will remove the big contaminants like Giardia is a protozoan cyst, and it's a big guy, and he's pretty easy to remove. Um, but viruses will go right through a microfilter. So, the question then comes: do I need to increase the, do I need a better filter?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is that they're available. And using a UV sterilizer in concert with a filter, or using a tablet in concert with a microfilter, is another option.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Go ahead.
well, I think that's one of the questions that we need to answer as consumers. What is the right combination of solutions to deploy when we're in the backcountry? And I think you can see I'm kind of leading you towards that team of using a microfilter in combination with a treatment tablet or a UV solution. I mean, a UV lamp
Mhm.
that would deactivate the viruses.
Yeah.
You use those two in combination. So now you always have a filter and you always have a backup. And you use the two of them together to minimize or to eliminate viral contamination, which again will go right through a microfilter. This
Yeah.
is a very simple approach, and highly recommend that we always have a filter and that we always have a backup. And that backup should be either UV or a chemical treatment such as chlorine.
Let me ask you this, and before we take a commercial break here, I because you answered my last question there before, um, you're saying that in not all cases do we have to use something in addition to a filter, but playing, how would you say, err on the side of caution, it would not be a bad idea to do that in each and every instance, would it? To
It,
avoid the use of both, I'm saying.
this is what we recommend at Katadyn. This
Yeah.
is really the best approach.
Okay.
Is this eliminates the possibility of viruses creeping into our world. Let's think for a minute about a water bottle that is used, right now in Wisconsin by a friend, and then I drink out of it. And what's the
Mhm.
first thing that comes into your mind in that scenario is COVID.
Mhm.
And that's where treated water can help us to remove cross contamination of COVID. Now, COVID's not waterborne, but if someone who is infected uses my water bottle, then I'm infected,
Mhm.
unless there's a treatment in the bottle that prevents that. So you can see how having a chemical treatment along with filtration, this is your all around toolkit that
Yeah.
will really take care of just about every contaminant you can, biological contaminant that you can think of.
Yeah. It is very cool. We had a question here, and I just want to throw this at you. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Mustang 774. One area I hike in has tea-colored water, high in tannins.
Mhm.
Tannins, harmful? Not probably harmful, are they?
Again, this is organic matter, and it's not biological in nature. It can host biologicals.
Okay.
But a basic microfilter will reduce the amount of tannin pretty dramatically and pretty quickly. Now, one great example of that is the boundary waters in northern Minnesota and
Mhm.
Canada,
Mhm.
the Quetico and the boundary waters. Tannins are very, very typical there, and microfilters do a really good job of removing them, making just about any lake water, really acceptable drinking water.
Mhm. I'm going to mention that when we come back, and I'm going to ask you about something that I was informed of when I was in the Boundary Waters last year. But right now, we're going to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It's time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sites, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
Duluth Pack is handcrafted for every lifestyle, making memories since 1882. In store at 365 Canal Park Drive or online at duluthpack.com.
And we're back with our guest, John Wright, here on the Camping Show. John, just before the break, I said I have to mention something to you. When I was in the Boundary Waters last summer, we were told that if you take your water bottle and turn it upside down, just air, and go down past a foot, you'll get past any bacteria in the water, anything bad that would happen to be there. But you drink right out of the lake. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, there's some truth to that. And that is typical teaching in the humanitarian world. That where you draw the water from makes all the difference.
Okay.
What water source you choose and where you draw the water from. So at the very top of the surface of a lake, a river, those temperatures tend to be just a little bit warmer, so the biologicals tend to migrate to those areas. Now, on the other hand, the very bottom of the lake or river has some other contaminant issues. It's going to have a lot more mineral content and whatever else is at the bottom of the lake.
Makes sense, right?
So yeah, it is true that drawing your water from just a few, a foot down or however far you can reach down to draw your water does tend to improve on the quality.
Okay. And thank you for addressing that. This is a Katadyn question. Are there different sizes of filtering units to accommodate larger groups and various activities?
Yeah, there are, and they range from about 1 liter per minute to about 3.8, almost 4 liters per minute.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. So, we've talked a little bit now about why. Now, if we talk a little bit about what is the right approach? What system? What should I use? Well, you've led us right to one of the great indicators that I have, for people looking for a filter, and that is to look at the flow rate. So the package will tell you, is it 1 liter per minute? Is it 2 liters per minute? Those are two very, very typical claims. And then there's some higher volume, systems out there. The Katadyn Expedition is just about 4 liters per minute. So you can choose those in a couple of different ways. One is if you have a crew of 5, you're probably going to have 3 people that have a filter of some kind. And that does help as a group to meet the group need of water. Or you can carry a single larger system like the Expedition, very typical with river trippers and where you have larger groups and you have a higher need for water. The Expedition meets that need, but it'd be really typical for a group to really bring 3, 4, personal filters to meet the group need.
Yeah, in my experience, because I always have things fail. It doesn't matter how many times I go through them here and make sure everything's going, working properly before a trip. Inevitably, something's going to fail. So I take I hand the filter, and we're gonna have pictures here in a minute. I'll tell you which one I have. I don't remember the name of it, but it's the metal one. Then we have the gravity flow system, and that we use at camp. If I'm in the boat, I just want to draw water off fill up my water bottle while we're paddling. That's the one, the hand pump that I use, or the hand filter. I mean, that I use. I always think it's a good idea to have 2 of something that is very essential and really life-saving. Really, potentially can be.
Yeah.
On a trip. And I think that a water filter qualifies as that. And I also have 2 of the UV units, which we're going to be talking about. So leading into that, is there a way to be certain that the water filtering unit and the UV units that we're going to talk about are each working properly? How do you know?
Yeah, there are some ways to know. And again, a water lab is not really one of the options. We can't really do testing in the backcountry.
Right.
But one example of where you can test for the efficacy of the filter, that is the function of the filter, is with our microfiber filters, our hollow fiber filter elements. This is a very typical type of water filtration cartridge that's available from several different manufacturers. This is the newer type of water filter that's out there. And with our filter, not all hollow fiber filters, but with ours, it does not allow air through the system.
Okay, nice.
So it will allow water through the system. It will prevent, biologicals and larger contaminant particles to be removed. But if you try to blow air through it, it won't work.
Okay.
Now, on the other hand, if you were to breach that filter cartridge, let's say that there was mechanical damage, or that high pressure was applied, or that the filter had had biological growth in it for years and had diminished the membrane. Whatever the case, if you can blow air through a Katadyn B-free filter, well, that's an indicator that it's time to replace that cartridge.
Something going on there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now, that's not true of all of the hollow fibers, so we should look for that in the manufacturer's documentation, but it is true with ours. You can test for it that way. Now, when you go to UV light, now, Katadyn manufactures the Steri-Pen UV sterilizing pen, which uses UV radiation to inactivate biologicals. And so it literally is a light bulb that lights up, and it runs for 90 seconds, and bam, it's purified water. All the biologicals have been inactivated.
Mm-hmm.
There are indicators on this electronic device. So there's an LED indicator on some of those devices that will tell you, this didn't work right. And
Oh, wow. Okay.
and of course, you always have the light bulb itself. The UV is a light emitter, is essentially a light bulb. And if you don't see light, that's a great indicator that your batteries are dead or that something else has been damaged. So there are some devices that give us, an indication that
Okay.
they're still working.
Now, what solutions are there if you experience problems with either your filtering unit or your UV unit while you're out adventuring in the middle of nowhere?
Yep.
What do you
Well, first thing that you do is you go to your backpack and you find your Micropure tablets.
do?
This is your backup. Remember,
There you
we
go,
talked
right?
about this.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that you have some treatment tablets in your
I do
gear,
for a fact.
CW.
Yes, I do.
That's great.
Yes, I do.
That's great. That's number one. Number two is that we really need to understand the filter. Maybe have some parts with us. Maybe have a diagram with us so that we can do field repairs if needed. One of the typical things that we will do in the backcountry is clean the filter element. And each manufacturer has its own process for cleaning, and we should really observe those and really adhere to whatever the manufacturer advises in terms of how you clean it. But
You know what
yeah,
that is before your trip.
exactly.
Don't
Yeah,
learn it.
is
I go, we got to figure this out.
yeah, you don't want to learn that in the backcountry when you're thirsty, and
Right.
that's not the time. But once you have once a filter becomes fouled with whatever the contaminants are, it gets to be harder to push water through it. And then we tend to push harder on the pump, or squeeze harder on the reservoir, or blow harder or draw harder, the water through. Some membranes don't like that extra pressure. So
Yeah.
it's really not the time to, understand how to clean your filter, but you can dramatically increase flow rates by just doing a little bit of maintenance. So, for example, with the Katadyn Be Free, it has a very, very simple protocol of just removing the filter element from the reservoir and swishing it out in either clean or dirty water. Either way, it's going to release the solids that I've collected in there and release them so that it's free to flow again. So.
Yeah, I think you just answered the question. What are the most common mistakes people make when it comes to using a water filter and a UV purification unit for purifying water? I'm going to address this one question here, and then we're going to do another break. Colleen and Johnny Kuhl. I always mispronounce it. I'm sorry, guys. What system do you recommend for well water? And I'm assuming they're treating this water before they put in their water bottles and things like that, for what they're doing.
Yeah. Well water is one of the great sources of water on this planet. It's cold enough that bacterial growth is very limited. It may have a high mineral content in it, and that's what we all think of as that beautiful taste of well water having
Yeah.
iron in it, or whatever the mineral content in the area is. But if you're using that well water in a backcountry scenario, then again, I really would encourage our backcountry people to use a microfilter in combination with a treatment tablet. If, on the other hand, it's a daily use scenario where you're using that water at a remote cabin, for example, or if it's a campsite, a remote campsite where you have a well installed, you maybe don't need to take all of those steps. If it's a well, it's probably got some testing that goes with it. And if it doesn't, then the county probably has other nearby wells that have been tested, and you can see that data online. So there are a couple of ways to check that. Just a basic ceramic filter drip system is what I would recommend to if you want to clean up your well water. And so this is just a ceramic, we call them a candle, and water will flow through that very, very slowly. That's why it's called a drip system. And it'll drip into a clean bucket on the bottom, the upper bucket being the dirty water, and the ceramic elements are in the dirty water, and they will clean it up. And we also offer a carbon component filter that will remove and absorb any, chemicals, pesticides, and improve the taste of the water dramatically. So that is called a drip system. Katadyn makes one. Other manufacturers have them too. And for a remote cabin or campsite, that's a great scenario.
Interesting. And thank you for addressing that question. All right, we are going to take another break here. Don't go away. We'll be back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It's time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sights, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
Duluth Pack is handcrafted for every lifestyle, making memories since 1882. In store at 365 Canal Park Drive or online at duluthpack.com.
And we're back with our guest, John Wright, here on the Camping Show. Roxy, could you put some photos up here of John's? And we're going to have him go through each of those and tell us a little bit about them. There we go.
This is an old friend. Yeah, this is the tablet that I referred to. This is Micropure. And this is a tablet, one of the very few tablets available in the marketplace that will inactivate the very worst of the biologicals. And so the worst of the biologicals is a nasty little bugger called Cryptosporidium. And we in the water business like Cryptosporidium because anything that will inactivate or remove that guy will remove any other biological. He being the very toughest, hardest to kill
The arch nemesis.
Exactly. He serves as a pretty good indicator of the rest of the pack of biological nasties.
Yeah.
So if we can inactivate that guy, man, you're safe.
You're
And
home. Yeah.
that's true in the water business protocols. That crypto is a great indicator, and that particular tablet, Micropure, will inactivate biologicals like crypto and giardia, all bacteria, all viruses, and chlorination, I have to say, is one of the great things on this planet that has saved so many lives. And
Yeah.
this is just a great version of that. It uses chlorine gas instead of sodium hypochlorite in the water. It uses chlorine dioxide gas in the water, and that's what inactivates the biologicals.
Yeah.
Great,
Does it taste funny? Does it taste funny?
Yeah. Immediately
You're not
after the wait time, if you open the bottle and drink immediately, it definitely has a chlorine taste to it.
Okay.
And it is a little bit stronger than, say, tap water. But as that off gases and you leave it open for a minute or two or later in the day, you actually at times won't taste the chlorine at all.
Dissipates pretty well. That's very good. Very good. All right. Thanks. Here we go.
Yeah, and this is one of the great solutions. UV light will inactivate crypto as well as all the other biologicals. And the beautiful thing about this is that it leaves no taste.
Yeah.
There's no chemical in the water. It doesn't add anything. It only inactivates the biologicals. So where you're really looking for a quality water, great tasting water where there's no chemical treatment and no filtration, it works just beautifully. And travel is one of the great applications of a Steri-Pen. So this is literally, you saw it, a pen-sized device that uses a battery to create 90 seconds of UV light. And that UV light does what it does so well in inactivating biologicals.
It does 90 seconds and bam, you can drink that water right now and it doesn't leave a taste. I love it.
That's a purifier. It gets all three classes, and it gets all three classes at the the protocol level. There's a water purity protocol that we all observe and adhere to, or most of us. And and actually Steri-Pen does meet that standard.
Yeah, I love that thing.
Yeah, and this is where we apply the same kind of UV light, but with this unit we use kind of an LED screen that guides you through the process.
Interesting.
So it'll tell
what's
you.
this unit called right here now?
This is the Ultra.
The Ultra. Okay.
Correct. And this is available at all outdoor retail. It's not anything that's hard to get, and it will just walk you through the process. It'll give you a nice smiley face if you have done the process correctly, and it will tell you either way. If it's not right, it'll give you a sad face. And,
I love that. Fail safe, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, this is the new generation of water filtration.
Okay.
This is the one that gets talked about on the Appalachian Trail and on the Pacific Trail. This is the one that is most compact. It has the highest flow rate in its class. This is a hollow fiber filter element.
What's the name of this again?
This is the Katadyn Be-Free.
Be-Free. There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is the 1 liter. It comes in a smaller version, and it goes up to we have a 3 liter and a 6 and a 9 liter version as well.
Okay.
So it's available in several different sizes. This has a 2 liter per minute flow rate. And so again, if I can help in no other way but to say, man, really look for the faster flow rates. No one wants to sit there and crank out 10 minutes of water when you can do it in 5. And so that's something that everyone always appreciates. No one ever says, man, I'm really glad I bought the lower flow rate,
It's a good camp chore for kids, though. Discipline. It teaches them discipline, right? I don't know. Made that up. Oh, yeah. Love it.
Yeah, here's a 3 liter gravity version of the Be-Free. So this is one that just uses gravity. You don't have to, compress it. You don't have to pump it. The water will flow through the hydration hose there. There's a valve at the end. So this is a real friend of mine. This has been used in lots of disaster scenarios as well, where we sell this without the retail packaging so that we can help our NGO partners to deliver more goods with less refuse on the backside,
Yeah.
and to deliver a water filter that can be used in freshwater scenarios.
Something I like about your product here, and this is what we use at camp, is the top. There's a rigid piece. If you can put that back up there for a second, Roxy, there you go. It's rigid at the top, and those two clips keep the thing. I mean, it just holds its shape,
Yeah.
and when you're filling, it's much easier as well. And I just like this system. This is like my favorite system. So.
Yeah, you've just mentioned another feature that I'd really like to encourage, people to look for. And that is that the larger the opening, the larger the hole in the reservoir, the faster you'll be able to fill it.
Big time. Big time.
And
It
if it's
does
a
make
tiny little hole, man, that gets to be frustrating.
makes a big
And if
difference.
it's a big hole, man, it's just really easy. So look
Yep.
for the bigger holes.
There we go.
Yep. One of our best-selling water filters. This is the Hiker Pro. And you can see inside there is the pleated filter element, and you can see the pump handle. So pumps are, they still have a place in this market, and be typical for people to lean towards be free. But where pumps really tend to make sense is this has like some carbon content to it. So if your water is not tasting great, this is going to take an additional step to remove taste in the water. And it's a 1 liter per minute approach. And one thing I want to say about this is when you put this in your hand, you can feel the quality. You can see the engineering, and you can see Katadyn in its very essence. And that is a room full of engineers in Switzerland that say, I can make this better, and here's how I'm going to do it. This is a very serious business to us in terms of sustaining life. And in fact, that is our company tagline, is sustaining life no matter where.
Yeah.
These are not just consumer products. These are devices that are designed to sustain your health in the backcountry, and it's something we take very seriously. And I think the Hiker is a great example of that, in that you can see the quality, you can feel it, you can feel the way that pump works so smoothly, and it moves water so quickly, and even at higher pressures it does the job well. So
they do a great job. I can attest to
thank
that.
you.
So. And there's the one
Yeah.
I own, John. That's the one I was trying to tell
Yeah.
you. I don't remember the name of it, but it is
Yeah.
wonderful.
This is a beautiful instrument. You're going to own that filter for another 20 years.
Yeah.
This is called the Katadyn Pocket, and it uses a ceramic filter element in it. It's like a clay flower pot, but the filter element has some pores to it, of course. And one thing about ceramics is that you can clean that element over and
And
over and
yes.
over again, for years,
Mhm.
and get it back to high flow status after it's filtered out a lot of contaminants. So it really, again, the quality of this thing, of this particular unit, is just so evident. These are aluminum fittings. These are higher end hoses. You can really feel the quality. And this is the reason that my attention was turned to Katadyn in the first place. As a backcountry user, this was the filter we all wanted. And so, yeah, Katadyn Pocket. And I got to tell you, it's still in high demand, and we can barely keep up on that one.
I've noticed that. I have.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me about them, and I said, "Oh, they're sold out. They're sold." Telling you, it's a beautiful, wonderfully smooth working operational piece of equipment, and I
Yeah.
can't say that enough, man. And absolutely. And is that our last picture, I think? Or no, it's not. I'm sorry. We got a couple more here.
Well, this is an example of a desalinator. So this is not something that would really work in an outdoor setting or in a camping setting at all. It's designed for life rafts. And but this is what desalination looks like, at least in a hand pump. So this thing is about 32 inches long, and it has a seawater reverse osmosis membrane in it, and it draws water in, and it rejects some of the water, and you get a little bit of flow of fresh water. And this will work in seawater or brackish water, and it will remove the salt ion. And so that's a filter on steroids, essentially, is what it is. Many thousands of dollars at retail. but I just did want to show that capability because, as we fly and as we are on, boats and watercraft, if they have a life raft, they
Yeah,
probably have a Katadyn
yeah,
desalination system in it.
makes sense.
And the hiker, yeah, this is one of our best-selling filters, and it's been with us for years. And again, it's a pleated style filter that works in that unit. And and it's not expensive. It's still well under $100.
Yeah,
And yeah, so this is one of the utilitarian pieces in our line. But again, the bee-free line has drawn some of the attention away from the pumps, and the bee-free line is right now the one that is really hard for us to keep up with, and the one that we hear the best reviews about, and the one that we hear talk on the big trails, on the Appalachian and the Pacific
yeah,
trails, that everyone is looking for a bee-free filter, which is something we're proud of.
yeah, yeah. And I can see, like I said, I use both, and I can see the application for both. So yeah, I mean they're both excellent products, excellent products.
Yeah.
Real quick, we've got about 3 minutes. We're winding down here, and I'm going to take a minute of that to sign off. But real quickly, where can our viewers and listeners go to learn more about the products that Katadyn Group offers?
Well, thanks. Yeah, I think it's scrolling across the screen, but catadyngroup.com. And that will take you to our global web page, and then you can drill into wherever you are on the planet, and you'll find retail outlets that will work with you. We're in we're in Rutabaga, and we're in REI, and we're in Bass Pro and Cabela's, and we're in all the specialty outdoor stores. So we're very easy to get at. Yeah,
All the right places, so to speak.
right on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I want to thank you, John, for being my guest here on the Camping Show this evening. It was absolutely a pleasure having you here.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk water for me. I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope we can help you in the future in your backcountry trips. I hope that you stay healthy, and I want to wish you well in your backcountry adventures.
Oh, thank you. We all appreciate that, John. Thank you so much, and a lot of great information here this evening. And I appreciate you being specific about all that stuff that we talked about. Okay,
Thanks.
you bet. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Campground Views, Rutabaga Paddle Sports, and Novacraft Canoe for bringing you tonight's show. Be sure to tune in for next week's episode, Tasty Recipes for Winter Camping with special guest Kevin Callan and Kevin Ride. Until then, thank you for tuning into the Camping Show. This is C.W. Getz reminding you, learn more, do more. See you next week.